Thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Pre-Market Pulsescan. This Pre-Market Pulsescan is being recorded on Friday, June the 16th, 2017. And the time is about 8:35 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, so for the most part, what do we have here? You're looking at the coinage, the crypto space. I like this site, World Coin Index. It's pretty dope. As you can see, Ethereum is right here, Bitcoin is right here, Litecoin, Ripple, all this other stuff. But we're just looking at Ethereum and Bitcoin. As you can see here, this is a price graph, 7 days running. And you can see we're in a nice defined downtrend channel on both the Ethereum and the Bitcoin. More downside is definitely coming. I do not think we've seen necessarily the bottom just yet. So we have to trade what we see. That's why it is so important to take profits along the way. You know, a drop like we saw here of almost $1,000 is rather substantial. There's a lot more that I wanted to say, but I'm going to wait for the mini documentary explaining this phenomenon and volatility that you are seeing in the Bitcoins and the Ethereum. All right, so I'm not going to give anything away. I will reserve my comments, but just suffice it to see now, it's up 1.4% on Ethereum, up slightly over 1% in the Bitcoin. So it's hanging in there. It's doing what is expected. Today is Friday, and I do anticipate what is called a Take Back Friday. I do anticipate that today. Pretty much those of you who are new to the channel. A Take Back Friday is when the market's been down all week, so you can expect a nice little bounce on a Friday. Vice versa, if the market's been up all week, you can expect a little pullback on a Friday. So far, what do we got? Well, the Dow right now is up 5 points at 21,325. You have the NASDAQ down about a half a point at 5708 3/4. The S&P 500 is up a point at 2433. Nat gas down about make it about 7 cents, something like that, or 7 ticks, I should say. Looking at gold, gold is up $3 at $1257.70. Silver is up about 2 cents at $16.74. Crude oil is up about 32.5 cents at $44.77.5. Your bonds are at 155.10. It's down about 5/32. So you can see this is where the futures are pointing. You got your euro up about 26 pips at 112.35. The pound up 24 pips at 128.23. And the Aussie up about, we'll give it 30 pips at 76.02. All right, so that's what's going on. All right, in pre-market, you can see here, Bank of America, still low, still between 23.65 and 23.60. So it's just waffling around here. You got some rampage coming up. This will probably help lift it up a little bit today. You still got this overhead resistance. Still in a negative pulse wave. It's still in a downtrend channel. But as long as it can close the day above $23.27, it will have some carryover momentum, believe it or not, for next week. And again, this is a weekly chart. Another interesting chart is NVIDIA. NVIDIA is still green for the week, and all it needs to do is to maintain that spark is to close above 142.21 to carry over some momentum into next week. But we do have this elongated consolidation cloud here. We don't get rampage until out here. So usually when you have these elongated clouds, prices can tend to chop up and down like this. All right, and some of these bounces and drops can be pretty substantial along the way. So this is a nice wild card. We just came off a new high last week of 168.50. So who knows? But this is what we got to look forward to in the time being. Let's see what else I wanted to show you real quick. Oh, let's take a look at how AutoZone has been trying to recover. Look at that. Still weak. So all this waffling around, and it's still not overcome this incredible sell-off. This is now the third week since the sell-off, and nothing's happening. It can't rally. It's not dropping, but it can't rally. It's just like taking a breath, like, what am I going to do? If it wants to try to make a run for a rally, it needs to close above it needs to close above 628.52. That's what you need today. Chances of that happening are slim to none. I think any type of an attempt of a rally is going to be sold. So this is going to be interesting to see. But yeah, this is selling's not over. I think we have way more downside to go on this one, as that downtrend channel begins to take blossom and accelerate. One more look at the Bitcoin here. This one really here doesn't really have a a pre-market per se, so it is what it is. No change, but you can see, like I told you, you have a wide trading range established in a long choppy prediction right here coming up. All right, and last but not least, everyone's talking about the stock market. Stock market this, stock market that. There's nothing bearish on this chart. Price action is bullish. Trend lines are pointing higher. Price action and trend lines are trading above the Kumo cloud. Kumo cloud has ramps and arches up. And we just hit a new high. We're hitting new 52-week highs every week, basically. New 52-week high. What are you going to say? All right, we know we're going to 22,000. You know that. Come on. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to see this. So it's really not a whole lot to talk about today. I mean, it's Take Back Friday. The week, for the most part, has been uneventful, with the exception of the Fed raising the rates. That's all we've really had. It's just really not been a lot of volatility overall outside of Bitcoin, basically. You really haven't had that much. It's just been a slow, steady grind. Gold and silver, no exception. Steady grind. Now this one, it's not really selling off hard body. We don't have one of these. It's just there's spikeage along the way here. All right, so the downtrend channel, this is the beginning stages of one, but don't get this twisted, because this is happening in the midst of a bullish pulse wave. That's the rub. That's why you can't really count gold out. Every time people want to count gold out, it rallies like this. You get these little sell-offs and then a rally. Got a little sell-off. I think the next rally, the bounce is going to put it way over that 1350. Now, if the banks get involved and start manipulating and turn on the manipulating, or how can I say this to be more Willy Wonka-ish? They're going to turn on the manipulator. All right, the manipulator replicator, and make the market drop like a stone. That is possible. It could drop back in the Kumo cloud. All right, can't take that off the table. You know, the central banks love to come in here and beat it down when it gets high like this. Each time we did it here, we did it here. Now we're doing it here. All right. But each time you got a higher low and preceded by a higher high. So I think it wants to blast off. So I would be looking for an opportunity to ride the momentum and get long. Now let's be honest. This market does need to close above 1267.20 in order to carry over some bullish momentum for next week. However, it doesn't have to do that. I'll tell you why. Normally when you give up your momentum like this and you're far away from the market, it usually would spell more downside. But because you got the trend line support here, this could be interesting. Now, it should be noted that we're just barely out of the Kumo cloud on these trend lines. So this is just an interesting space right now. You got a little wiggle room to pull back, but just enough support for a rally. So it's just a really strange space for gold right now. But I'm saying don't count it out. It can easily take off like a rocket, regardless what it does today. Next week could be very interesting. So I got my eye on the gold. Got my eye on it. All right, let's take a look at silver now. Okay, so here we go. All right, silver's a little bit different. It has no support underneath like gold does. It's just weak. It needs to close above 1714 today in order to have some carryover momentum for next week. This one is just a different space. The pattern's been broken. You had a higher high back here, but then you hit with a lower low. So you had a higher high and you had a lower low. Now you have an even lower low. You have a lower high, and so far you have a higher low. So it's just all over the place. Broken, broken, and now we're broken. So it's the next rip will probably just put it just about in the Kumo cloud. It just has a lot more to overcome. So if it can get a bid off of gold rallying, that would help silver. All right, so that could help it. But right now, this is where we're at. Got to trade what we see. I'm not so optimistic just yet on the silver because of the broken pattern. You have technical damage on the chart that makes it flatlined. It means we're going absolutely nowhere. Remember several years ago when I did that video explaining that at some point all technical analysis and indicators and things of that nature at some point always connect on a straight line? Does anyone remember that who's been with me the longest? Well, that's what this is. Look what the cursor is. Look at the pointer and look at the price. Look where we are. We've converged on all the technical analysis on this chart. The price is around 1690. 1690 is about the inflection point for this particular market. Silver's inflection point is 1690. What that means is if prices can hold on an intraday basis and get a close above 1690, that is an intraday magic secret type of a pivot, for lack of a better way to explain it, that will help to catapult this and make it shoot through the cloud on a bar like this. Like take one of these bars right here, but just color it green and put it right here. That's what you have. It's hard to explain, but just suffice it to say that's what you have. All right, so I'm not counting silver out. I'm just saying that's what needs to happen. Now, we got to close above 1714 this week, which is probably not going to happen. So if it does not happen, the next target for it for next week is not just the blue momentum line, but it has that invisible supply demand at 1690 that needs to be dealt with. All right, so there you have it. That's the marching orders for silver. So again, we're at a very interesting juncture on this. Yes, it's below the Kumo cloud. Yes, the trend lines are below the Kumo cloud. It does look nasty. It does look like this low is in play. But because of the 1690, in other words, because of what the price inflection point is, where all the indicators that you can name meet and converge, which is 1690, this market has some hope. It can turn and reverse today or next week and change this pattern, break this pattern. Again, it broke it here. So who says it can't break it again, even down here? Yeah, we have time before you close below this low. You still have time where that price inflection point of 1690 can happen. Okay, so there you have it, folks. That's what we're looking for. As far as plays for today, you know, there really are none, technically speaking. On Fridays, I don't like to really initiate new positions, only because of the geopolitical climate that we find ourselves in these days. Sometimes I will break the rule and do it, but today is not one of those days. So basically what you're doing today is you're tightening up stops. So if there's some kind of reversal or take back Friday or key reversals in any of the markets that you're in, you get out with profit. You don't give back profit. You don't turn a winning trade into a losing trade. So that's what Fridays are for. Take back Fridays are an opportunity to take profit off the table. You tighten up your stops, let the market come to you, and there you have it. Or you can be greedy and say, I want to take all of my profit and I'm just going to exit the position. You can do that too. That's your call. But that's what Fridays are for. I'm not looking to initiate anything today, only because of the position of most of these markets. They're just not in a good space, or they've already moved so much that it's better to let the dust settle and see where they settle today. Like, for instance, NYMEX has been, you know, a good play. But now that we're inside of the Kumo cloud, where do we go from here? You know, you're in the Kumo cloud of death. You can march up here, fall back down. At any time, prices can turn on a dime. We can drop below the cloud, go break above the cloud. On spikes, anything can happen. And then you see too, the cloud is very elongated, very long. All right, with peaks and valleys. All right, even right here, you got a little bit of gravity pulling you down, and then you drop to another level here. Once you get up to this space, you know, this lets you, but then it narrows in. So resistance narrows in. You see this is going lower and lower. So this is pulling you down. This right here is acting as a strong resistance ceiling for you. Then it pulls you down again. Then this lifts you up, puts you in a bottleneck right here where you can possibly break out or break down. So we got in the foreseeable future several weeks of nothingness coming up for the NYMEX. I'm just saying that this is a weekly chart. Yeah, it's done well, coming from $15 to $23, but you got to trade what you see, and that's just what's on the table. Be prepared for anything, basically, is what I'm saying. Any notable crash alerts for the day? Amazon has a crash alert. XIV has one, which is a key player for your stock market, has a crash alert on it, which means all it's going to do possibly is give back some for Take Back Friday. Cone has one. Facebook has a crash alert. AG has one. Goldman Sachs, the FXC, FXA, and FXE. So your currency space, the Canadian dollar, Aussie, and Euro, possible pullbacks. TLT, your bonds. That makes sense because bonds have been so strong all week. IYR, XLV, which is your healthcare sector. Financial sector, XLF. That's a very important one, the XLF. If that sees a correction today, that's going to take, all the banks with it, all the financial stuff with it. Diamonds have a crash lower on it, so we could see a little pullback in the Dow possibly. The biotech sector, XBI, and then Bank of America shows an overbought, which means that it's probably going to be under pressure today. So if you're long that one, you may want to consider getting out of that. And that's about it. Really just not a lot to talk about here in most of these, just because for the most part the markets were tame this week ahead of the Fed. There was not too much jockeying for position ahead of the Fed, and you had the giant pullback in Bitcoin, and I think that's what kind of tamed markets a bit, if you will. So that's all we got, man. That's it. Other than that, that's a wrap. So with that being said, remember, bulls make money and bears make money, and pigs get what? Slaughtered. So you must remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And to everyone out there who is a daddy, I say happy Father's Day to you. And I hope everyone has a blessed and a happy weekend and a safe weekend, and enjoy time with your children, your spouses, family and friends, all that good stuff. And remember, come on over to pulsewavetrading.com so you can learn how to navigate these murky waters of algorithms that rule the world right now. Hence the blockchain, which we'll be talking about and dealing with in an upcoming video series. With that being said, peace.